Find a priest, call an ambulance.
Why, Mike?
I've just nailed my legs to the table.
See, I've done my revision. I'm going off now to stuff loads and loads of paper down the toilet.
What's this fish doing in my bed?
It's not in your bed, Mike.
The Young Ones, which crashed onto British television screens in 1982, was a comedy revolution centered around 4 wildly incompatible students living in squalor. The pretentious anarchist Rick, the violent punk Vyvyan, the depressed hippie Neil, and the suave mystery man Mike. The show tore up the rulebook, but behind the exploding heads, talking hamsters, and endless lentils, the making of the show was just as bizarre and unconventional as the final product. Here are 20 weird facts you didn't know about The Young Ones, 1982. Number 1. It was never meant to be a sitcom. One of the most memorable and bizarre features of The Young Ones was the random musical performances from bands like Motorhead, Madness, and Dexy's Midnight Runners. These were the result of a clever budget loophole. The BBC's budget for traditional sitcoms was completely drained at the time, but the light entertainment department still had money to spend.
Thanks for giving us the oldest, dirtiest teapot in the world.
To qualify for this funding, a show had to feature variety elements, like musical acts or guest performers. By classifying The Young Ones as light entertainment, the creators secured the budget they needed. This bureaucratic workaround is the sole reason why a thrash metal band could suddenly appear in the living room of a student house, play a blistering song, and then vanish without explanation. Number 2. The characters were born in a comedy club. Before they ever shared a filthy student house on television, the core characters of The Young Ones were already fully formed on the stand-up stage. In the early 1980s, London's The Comic Strip Club was the epicenter of the new alternative comedy movement, and Rick Mayall, Adrian Edmondson, and Nigel Planer were key players. Mayall had developed his solo act as Rick,
Bloody hell! It must be 200 miles from Manchester.
the self-proclaimed people's poet, an insufferable, politically inept anarchist who was desperate for attention. Edmondson performed as the silent, ultra-violent Vyvyan, a character who communicated through destruction.
I've left to wipe my nose on. Even SPG's all covered in snot.
And Planer had his own persona, Neil, a perpetually depressed and lethargic hippie folk singer.
More money, you bastard.
When the series was created, these pre-existing characters were simply thrown together into a house, allowing their distinct, road-tested personalities to clash in hilarious and explosive ways from the very first episode. Number 3. The original Mike turned down the role. While Rick, Vyvyan, and Neil were based on their actors' stage personas, the character of Mike, the cool person, came from a different comic strip performer, Peter Richardson. Richardson had developed the character of the smooth-talking, often incomprehensible cool guy, and he was the original choice to play Mike in the series. However, Richardson had a disagreement with the BBC over his contract and ultimately decided to turn down the role to focus on other projects with Channel 4. With a key character missing, the part was offered to Christopher Ryan, who wasn't part of the original comic strip gang. Ryan had to build the character from scratch,
Come back in 5 minutes when they've lost a game.
using the established concept of the straight man in the House of Lunatics. Number 4. The fifth flatmate you never noticed. Dedicated fans of The Young Ones have long debated the existence of a mysterious, uncredited fifth flatmate. In several episodes, a strange, gender-ambiguous figure with long hair covering their face can be spotted sitting silently in the background of the house. This character never speaks, never interacts with the main 4, and is never acknowledged. However, producers Jeff Posner and Paul Jackson later admitted that it was an intentional running gag they thought would be funny. They planned to have this unexplained person appear in every episode, but they were so disorganized during production that they simply kept forgetting. The inconsistency of the gag, Posner admitted, was a perfect example of what a bunch of amateurs we were, making the fifth flatmate a fitting symbol of the show's chaotic, make-it-up-as-you-go energy. If you're enjoying this so far, hit that like button and subscribe for more awesome TV facts. And tell us in the comments, what show brings you the most nostalgia and which one should we cover next? Number 5. Alexei Sayle was a total wild card. Alexei Sayle, who played the landlord Jerzy Belowski and every other member of the Belowski family, was the embodiment of the show's unpredictable spirit.
She goes, yeah, are you Mussolini?
While the main cast worked from a script, Sayle's segments were almost entirely improvised. He rarely rehearsed with the other actors, and the scripts would often just contain the simple instruction, Alexei does his bit.
Don't you think it's a nice house here? It's good house, it's clean house, Michael Caine and Twiggy, yes?
This meant that when he burst onto the scene, whether as a train driver, a Mussolini-obsessed landlord, or a folk singer, the main cast had no idea what he was going to say or do.
I told him I never heard of you. Said I'd never seen you before.
Okay, yes, I say it's good joke, yes?
Their reactions of genuine confusion and surprise were often completely real. Number 6. The show was a who's who of future British comedy royalty. Beyond the main cast and the musical guests, the young ones served as an early showcase for an entire generation of British actors and comedians who would go on to become household names.
Yeah, certainly can suck.
The show is packed with guest appearances from performers who were, at the time, just starting their careers. In various episodes, you can spot Stephen Fry, Hugh Laurie, and Emma Thompson, who famously played the rival posh students in the Bambi episode.
Daddy sends hugs.
Now, wasn't it Monk to Wally to Honk?
Dawn French and Jennifer Saunders, who would later create the legendary Absolutely Fabulous, also appeared in multiple roles.
Hope I'm not pushing you all out.
Other notable guests included comedian Mel Smith, Blackadder's Tony Robinson, and Robbie Coltrane. Number 7. The whole show is a bizarre tribute to Cliff Richard. One of the show's strangest running gags is its obsession with the clean-cut 1960s pop star, Cliff Richard. The title of the series itself is taken from his 1961 hit song, The Young Ones. This was a direct reflection of Rick Mayall's genuine ironic fandom of the singer, a trait he gave to his character, Rick. Rick constantly professes his love for Cliff, much to the disgust of the punk Vyvyan. The references don't stop there. The series finale, in which the gang goes on a disastrous trip, is titled Summer Holiday, after another famous Cliff Richard song and movie. The ultimate payoff came in 1986. When the cast, in character, teamed up with Cliff Richard himself to record a charity cover of his song Living Doll for comic relief. The collaboration was a massive hit, and the music video is a surreal masterpiece. Number 8. The writers had no idea what they were doing. When Rick Mayall, Lise Mayer, and Ben Elton sat down to write The Young Ones, none of them had any real experience writing for television. Instead of following the established rules of sitcom structure, they simply wrote down whatever they thought was funny, with no consideration for how it could possibly be filmed.
You can hear it kicking.
I can't hear anything. All I can hear...
Their scripts were filled with impossible gags, an atom bomb dropping on the kitchen, a character's head exploding, or the entire house being flooded. When they arrived on set for the first day of filming, they were shocked to see the incredible amount of work the crew had put in to make these throwaway jokes a reality. They apologized and promised to write simpler scenes, but the crew told them to keep writing the crazy stuff. They loved the challenge of figuring out how to bring the writer's wildest, most surreal ideas to life.
Rick and Neil, in order to have the whole house to myself.
And that collaborative spirit is what allowed the show to be so visually inventive. Number 9. It's really about a dysfunctional nuclear family. Beneath the slapstick violence and surreal humor, Rick Mayall had a surprisingly structured interpretation of the 4 main characters. He once explained in an interview that he saw the group not as 4 students, but as a twisted, dysfunctional nuclear family.
Really, really crap they were.
In his view, Neil, with his constant cooking, cleaning, and worrying, was the long-suffering mother of the household.
This will never go round. They're cornflakes.
Mike, with his cool, authoritative, and emotionally distant demeanor, was the father figure.
That's it, we're going upstairs to bed very fast, now!
Vyvyan, the destructive, tantrum-throwing punk, was the rebellious and violent young son.
And that's the point. We won't be able to hear Neil from out there.
And Rick, with his dramatic emotional outbursts, pigtails, and desperate pleas for attention was the whiny, angsty teenage daughter.
And he said to say that you'll never see him again.
Number 10. The show had some surprising fans. Given its anti-establishment, anti-Thatcher political undertones, and its celebration of anarchy, The Young Ones would seem like the last show to be embraced by figures of authority. However, according to director Ed Bye, the series was surprisingly popular with policemen. This fact apparently infuriated Rick Mayall. He had created Rick as a passionate, albeit misguided, voice of rebellion against the system, and the idea that the very people he was mocking were laughing along with him was deeply upsetting to him. Number 11. The ska band Madness got a special spotlight. While many bands made one-off appearances on the show, the British ska group Madness was given special treatment. They were the only musical act to perform in 2 different episodes, playing their hits House of Fun and Our House. They even got to interact with the characters, most notably when Rick requests a Cliff Richard song and is menacingly threatened by the band's frontman, Suggs. The reason for their prominent role was that the BBC was seriously considering giving Madness their own Monkees-style sitcom. Their appearances on The Young Ones were partly a way to test their on-screen presence and appeal to a comedy audience. While the Madness sitcom never materialized, their performances on the show remain 2 of the most iconic musical moments in the series, perfectly capturing the vibrant and quirky British music scene of the early 1980s. Number 12. It was a family and friends affair. The creation of The Young Ones was a deeply personal and collaborative effort among a close-knit group of friends and partners. Rick Mayall co-created and co-wrote the series with his then-girlfriend, Lise Mayer, who is a key architect of the show's structure and humor.
It's a telescope!
Meanwhile, Adrian Edmondson's girlfriend at the time, Jennifer Saunders, was also a frequent presence. Before they married in 1985, Saunders appeared in 2 different episodes, playing a punk girl and a nun.
My surname isn't back.
Her comedy partner, Dawn French, also made a guest appearance.
Repent for the dead!
This contributed to the show's authentic, collaborative energy. Number 13. There are some deep connections to Doctor Who. For fans of British television, The Young Ones shares some surprising DNA with the legendary sci-fi series Doctor Who. 2 of the show's main actors had roles in the classic era of the long-running program. Christopher Ryan, who played Mike, appeared in the 1980s as the Sontaran character Lord Kiv. He would later reprise his Sontaran connection in the revived series. Alexei Sayle also had a role in a classic Doctor Who story, but the biggest connection is one that never made it to screen. Colin Baker, who was playing the 6th Doctor at the time, filmed a guest appearance for an episode of The Young Ones. He was set to play an evil character named Count Dustbag, but his entire scene was cut from the final broadcast due to time constraints. Number 14. A random lion tamer appears because of a budget loophole. The light entertainment budget didn't just require musical acts, it demanded a variety of guest performers. This led to some of the show's most brilliantly random and inexplicable gags. The most famous example of this is the lion tamer. In one scene, Mike calmly opens his bedroom door, revealing a man in full circus attire cracking a whip at a roaring lion. Mike simply closes the door as if nothing is out of the ordinary, and the scene is never mentioned again. This bizarre 5-second gag was a necessity. The show had to hire a certain number of variety acts to keep its funding. So a lion tamer was brought in for the day. Number 15. The episode titles follow a strict but broken rule. The creators of The Young Ones gave themselves a simple minimalist rule for naming the episodes. Each title had to be a single word. This resulted in a list of stark, simple titles for the first 11 episodes, including Demolition, Oil, Boring, Bomb, Interesting, Flood, Cash, Nasty, Time, and Sick. These one-word titles perfectly match the show's blunt, no-nonsense approach to comedy. However, for the 12th and final episode, they deliberately broke their own rule. The grand finale, which sees the characters go on their fateful last adventure, is titled Summer Holiday. The break from convention signaled that this episode was different. It was the end. It was also, fittingly, another tribute to their strange muse, Cliff Richard. Number 16. The set was a character in itself. The house at 15 Scumbag College was more than just a setting. It was a living, breathing character and a physical extension of the 4 students' chaotic lives. The set was meticulously designed to look as disgusting and dilapidated as possible. Grime covered every surface, random holes were smashed into the walls, and half-eaten, moldy food was a permanent fixture. The house was constantly falling apart around them, ceilings collapsed, walls were knocked down, and furniture was destroyed. The exterior shots used a real house in Bristol, which became a landmark for fans. The incredible squalor of the set perfectly mirrored the anarchy of the characters' personalities.
I think you better ask him that, hadn't you? I'm a bit more interested in my bottom at the moment.
And the deconstructed nature of the show itself. It was a visual representation of the mess, decay, and utter chaos that defined the young ones. Number 17. The talking animals were a last-minute idea. Some of the most iconic and surreal moments in The Young Ones come from its non-human characters, the 2 gossiping rats.
This is my dream, poet. A woman is only a woman.
The philosophical spiders, or SPG, Vyvyan's talking Glaswegian hamster. These bizarre cutaways to puppets and stop-motion animations felt like a core part of the show's DNA, but they were never in the original scripts. They were actually a last-minute addition during post-production. When editing the episodes, the producers often found that the shows were running a bit short. To fill the remaining time, they came up with the idea of inserting these short, strange vignettes featuring talking animals. It was a cheap and easy way to add a few extra seconds, but it ended up becoming one of the show's most beloved and inventive features. Number 18. The infamous Bambi episode had behind-the-scenes tension. The episode titled Bambi is arguably the show's most famous. It features a parody of the quiz show University Challenge, where the 4 students compete against a team of obnoxiously posh students from the prestigious Footlights College. The rival team was played by a dream cast of future superstars: Stephen Fry, Hugh Laurie, Emma Thompson, and Ben Elton, the show's co-writer. While the episode is a comedic masterpiece, there was some real-life tension behind the scenes. Alexei Sayle, a staunchly working-class, anti-establishment comedian, was reportedly not thrilled with the guest stars. He saw the Cambridge Footlights educated actors as representatives of the privileged, university-educated elite that his style of comedy was actively rebelling against. Number 19. The explosive finale was a deliberate ending. After just 12 episodes spread over 2 series, The Young Ones came to a sudden and definitive end in the final scene of Summer Holiday. The gang discovers they've failed their exams. They steal a red double-decker bus, and in a moment of joyous freedom, they crash through a billboard of Cliff Richard and sail off a cliff, singing Summer Holiday, as the bus explodes in a fiery ball. This wasn't a cliffhanger, it was a statement. The writers and cast, particularly Rick Mayall and Adrian Edmondson, were worried about the show becoming repetitive and wanted to end it on a high note. They deliberately killed off the characters in the most spectacular way imaginable to ensure that the BC couldn't pressure them into making a 3rd series. Number 20. They became pop stars for charity. Years after the show ended, the characters had an unlikely and triumphant return, not on TV, but on the music charts. In 1986, for the very first comic relief charity telethon, the cast reunited to record a new version of Cliff Richard's 1959 hit, Living Doll. The collaboration, billed as Cliff Richard and the Young Ones, was accompanied by a now legendary music video that saw Rick, Vyvyan, Neil, and Mike performing alongside their idol, much to his professional dismay. The song was a colossal success. It shot to number 1 on the UK singles chart and remained there for 3 weeks. And that's 20 weird facts about the Young Ones. From its anarchic humor to its surprising guest stars, this British sitcom remains one of the most influential comedy shows ever made. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment which show we should cover next.